So we'll go ahead and get started. I am Mitch McCoy, M-I-T-C-H, M-C-C-O-Y. I'm the Director of Public Affairs and Information for the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. Before we begin, I just want to let everyone know that we're still very early in the investigation. It's preliminary. It could change the facts that I'm about to share as the investigation develops. But before I get into all of the facts, I just want to reiterate how heartbroken we are over this awful and avoidable tragedy. Our entire community is feeling the pain of what happened this morning in the 700 block of Thrush. Around midnight, District 6 officers received a call for a shooting there in the 700 block of Thrush. When officers arrived, they found a 4-year-old girl had been shot. She was unconscious and she was barely breathing. Officers knew that this little girl was dying, and they did everything they could to save her life. They immediately took her into their patrol SUV. While one officer drove, the other was rushing the child to the hospital. That girl died a short time later at the hospital. It is early in our investigation, but it appears that the mother left the children alone in the home while she went to the store. She left 4 kids in the home. The ages of those kids are all under the age of 10. The ages are 10, 9, 4, and 4. The little girl that died, it's our understanding, is a twin. Where the firearm was inside the home is part of our investigation, but it appears right now that the firearm was left in a place that was easily accessible to a small child. Our detectives are working closely with the Circuit Attorney's Office to perform a thorough and complete investigation to ensure that if someone needs to be held accountable, that they are held accountable. I cannot reiterate how avoidable this tragedy was this morning. If you are a gun owner, lock it up. If you are watching us right now on whatever platform or listening to us, and you have a firearm in your home right now, lock it up. If you have small children in your home and you have a firearm, just double check. Make sure it's locked up. Something like this is avoidable. But if you're gonna own a firearm, be responsible with it. Don't just assume, don't just think, make sure it's locked up. If you're gonna own a gun, lock it up and be responsible. Right now, there are gun locks available at our North Patrol, Central Patrol, and South Patrol offices. And this would not be possible without the donation and support from Cardinal Glennon's Children's Hospital. That is a partnership that started a week or two ago. Before this, the gun locks are also available at our property room. And when a firearm is returned to a firearm owner, not only are you getting your firearm back, but you're also getting a gun lock back. And that is a partnership that we have had for the last week or so. I just want to reiterate, and I can't say it enough, how avoidable this was. A 4-year-old girl is dead, and it was preventable if that firearm would have been locked up and stored away. The investigation's ongoing. We're hoping that in the coming days we'll be able to share another update with you as our detectives work right now, literally right now, to make sure that if someone needs to be held accountable for this, that they are. I'll take any questions.
Did you know whose gun it was? Was it legally owned or registered?
I don't know that, but I can find out.
Is mom cooperating?
The children, I don't know if all of the children were asleep in the home, but I know that when the mom left to go to the store, there were 2 kids that ended up finding that firearm and accidentally pulling the trigger on it.
So
Was
one
this
child
some-
shot another.
Yes.
How old was the child who shot the 4-year-old?
I don't have that information.
Do you know who called 911?
It was a child inside the home that called 911.
Is mom cooperating? Was she at the hospital? Tell us about that.
I know that the mother of the little girl that passed away was at the hospital this morning. I don't have any information on whether she's cooperating or not cooperating with the investigation.
Were all of the children hers?
I don't have that information.
Were
How
there
long was
other
she at the
adults?
store?
Were there other adults who lived in the home?
I don't know if other adults lived in the home, but we know that there were no adults in the home at the time that the shooting happened.
How long was she at the store?
That'll be part of our investigation. Yep.
The children, how are they related? Are they siblings? We know 2 are twins, but are the other 2 cousins, or what do you know about that?
We know that the child that was shot, the girl that passed away, the child that used the gun was a sibling of the little girl.
Can you talk about the trauma of this for not only your officers, but for this community?
I mean, I think that our officers get a call for service, right? Whether that be a stolen car, whether that be a shooting. And no matter the call, every call is unique and every call is different. And today, that call was very, very different. Officers see a lot of things when they're on the streets. This is going to be one of those that I can assure you they will not forget this. For the officers that tried to save that little girl, that's traumatic. And we have to make sure that resources are also available to our officers that were involved in this call.
When you talk about working with the circuit attorney's office, what are potential charges that an adult in this situation could face?
I think that there's a variety of options on the table. I think that we have to wait to see what the facts present and what our detectives are able to find out. They're already uncovering information that they're working closely with the circuit attorney's office on. And as soon as those charges are decided, we'll be sure to pass them along.
I know that you don't know how long she was at the store, but do you have a general timeline of what time she left for the store and what time the 911 call came in?
We know that the 911 call came in right around midnight. I don't know when the mom left the store or when she was expected home, but that is something that our detectives are going to have to talk with the mom, start gathering those details, because that'll all be very, very, very important throughout our investigation.
And the sibling that shot the child, was it the one that is believed to be a twin, or is it a separate
I don't
one of
have
the children?
I don't have that confirmed right now.
That child doing, I understand earlier there was, that child might have been injured for some kickback.
There was a child that was that had a small abrasion on the face that investigators originally believed may have been from a kickback when the firearm was discharged, but I don't know the relationship or the age of the child that did that. Of course, that'll be part of our investigation as we try and figure out what happened in that home.
The question is, how old is the mother, and then the sibling who shot the 4-year-old, is he a male or female?
I don't know. I don't know the male or female gender of the child that pulled the trigger. And what was your first?
The mother, how old is the mother?
We're not going to release that until we know whether she is going to be a victim in this or if she will be a suspect.
Or she married?
I don't know.
What kind of firearm was it and where was the child shot?
That's part of our investigation.
What do you tell parents that a lot of people argue that if I have my gun locked up, that defeats the purpose of it, I need to get access to it quick? What do you tell them to avoid that?
Look at this. That's all I'll say. I mean, I think any responsible gun owner should look at this and then come back to us if they have any questions.
Safe to say this was their home.
It's my understanding that they all lived in the home, yes.
I know the free gun lock program has been something that has been around for a while. Sadly, do you see an increase in people looking for gun locks after a story like this? I mean, do you guys get a lot of people looking for those gun locks? What can you tell us about that?
You know, I'm still new to the police department, so I wouldn't have any type of comparison for you, but I think that prior history has shown that when something like this happens, parents usually respond and will come get a gun lock. But it's the consistency of making sure that it's locked away. If you're going to the store and you're not taking your firearm, there's no reason why it shouldn't be safely locked away. Right? I mean, if you are leaving if you're leaving your home, there's no reason why it shouldn't be locked. God forbid you also leave your kids there. So I think that you have to make sure that if you own a firearm, that you're doing it responsibly and that you're a responsible gun owner. We know that there are a lot of guns in the city of St. Louis.
So if the child called 911, was the mom back at home by the time police arrived?
She was not.
And again, the gun was legally owned.
I don't have that information. That'll be part of our investigation, though.
What time did police arrive?
Officers arrived fairly quickly. I don't have an exact time. Charlie or Evita can get you the exact arrival time, but I know that officers arrived fairly quickly after the shooting call went out. It's my understanding that the call went out as a shooting involving a child.
I know
And do we know
Okay.
do we know if the mother had a child lock or a gun safe or anything like that?
That'll be part of our investigation as we try and determine if she did have any gun locks, if she had properly stored it before, if it was locked. I mean, those are all things that we have to comb through and we have to investigate to make sure that if somebody needs to be held accountable here, that they are held accountable. Our detectives are going to be truth seekers, and they're going to make sure that they are a voice for that 4-year-old child who doesn't have one anymore.
Any calls for service at that address? No.
We did look at that. Within the last year, there were a couple calls, but it was all fairly regular calls that an officer would get. I mean, one was a parking violation because there were cars parked on the street and somebody couldn't get out. We also had a call for a stolen vehicle from that area. We don't know if it's specifically from that address or if it was a neighbor or someone else. So nothing that stood out.
Have you guys spoken to anyone who claimed that they may be the father of the child?
We have been in contact with 2 fathers.
Are you identifying the child, the name?
Not yet.
Oh.
We'll do that. It has been very customary for this department, and we are not going to shy away from it now, even though a lot of the family has been notified. We've always usually given it 24 hours. I mean, the girl died 12 hours ago. Well, 15 hours ago. So we'll release that in the coming days, but let's give the family some time to also process and grieve and make sure that everyone's properly notified.
I was a little confused what you said off the top. You said the officers grabbed the child and took her. You said one officer drove and the other one was administering CPR or first aid?
First aid.
Okay.
So there was often, many of you know, when our officers, some of them are one-man units, others are 2 officers to a patrol car. Some of the first officers that arrived on scene was a 2-man car. When they arrived on scene, they realized how serious this was, and they knew that little girl was dying. And so the officers did what many law enforcement agencies call is a scoop and go. So they got her, they put her in the back seat. One officer was driving while the other was performing first aid, trying to save the little girl's life.
Was she inside or outside at that point, or did they break in?
I'm sorry?
The police officers, was the little girl inside the home or outside the home, or?
It's my understanding the little girl was inside the home.
Got it.
Yeah. Because the call also came from a child that was inside the home.
Where was she shot?
That's part of our investigation. Any other questions? I know that there's a lot we were able to share. There are obviously a lot of unanswered questions, but as I mentioned earlier, this is a case that our detectives are going to actively work to make sure that we don't leave any unanswered questions, and that if somebody needs to be held accountable here, that they are. Because we have to be a voice for the little girl that doesn't have one anymore. And so we have to be thorough, we have to be complete. That's why we're already working with the Circuit Attorney's Office to make sure that everyone is held accountable.
Do you expect any charges today?
Not today.
Is the mother the only suspect you're looking at? Considered suspect?
I think that the investigation will lead us in whatever direction that the detectives deem necessary. But right now, we're in the early process or early stages of the investigation to figure out who was supposed to be watching those kids. You know,
Do you know if the mother, like, ever left the children alone before, or was this like an isolated incident?
that's a very good question and something that our detectives are going to be asking, and if they haven't already.